Every conversation you have shapes how others perceive you, yet most people underestimate the power of deliberate communication. Mastering even a few simple strategies can transform your interactions, making every word count, building influence, and creating lasting connections. This audiobook delivers practical, actionable techniques to sharpen your speaking, listening, and persuasion skills so you can communicate with confidence and clarity every single day. By following these methods, you will move from being misunderstood or overlooked to commanding attention and respect in every setting. Subscribe now and start turning ordinary conversations into extraordinary opportunities for influence and growth. Number 1. Speak clearly. Influence every conversation. A clear voice arrives like a door opening. Attention follows the sound. When words are shaped with intent, people not only hear, they move, decide, and remember. Speaking clearly is the quiet power that converts thought into influence. It starts in the body and finishes in the imagination of the listener. Mastering it is not glamour, it is daily discipline. The work is simple, measurable, and mercilessly effective. First, accept one's stoic truth. Control what you can. The tone, pace, and clarity of your speech are fully within your control. External reactions are not. Focus on the small, repeatable actions that shape a steady voice. Begin with breath. Breathe low into the belly so the lungs expand from the bottom up. Place a hand on the diaphragm and inhale for a count of 4. Hold for 2. Exhale for 6. Repeat 5 times. This is not a meditation novelty. It is physiological training. Deep breathing anchors the voice, steadies the nerves, and gives each phrase the energy it needs. Practice this before every important conversation, every presentation, and for 5 minutes each morning. Next, posture changes everything. Stand or sit with a straight spine, shoulders relaxed but not slumped, chest open. Imagine a string pulling the crown of your head upward, not stiff, just aligned. This alignment frees the airway and allows sound to resonate instead of being swallowed. When voice resonates, words travel. They do not get lost in the throat. For 10 breaths a day, check posture and adjust. Small reminders, an hourly stretch, a sticky note, a phone alarm labeled straight spine keep the habit alive. Articulation is the craft of clarity. Muscles in the lips, tongue, and jaw can be trained like any other. Warm up those muscles with targeted exercises. Roll the tongue slowly along the roof of your mouth 10 times. Open the jaw and hum a low note for 5 seconds. Repeat tongue twisters deliberately. Red leather, yellow leather, unique New York toy boat. Slowly at first, then increase speed. Record 1 minute of these exercises on your phone twice daily for a week. Listen back and mark which consonants blur. Improvement becomes visible when you measure it. Pacing is the difference between noise and meaning. Speak too fast and trust evaporates. Speak too slow and attention wanes. Use the rhythm of sentences like a map. Shorter sentences for clarity, longer ones for detail. Practice the habit of pausing, not as an absence but as a tool. Pause after the most important phrase. Pause before a key point to create anticipation. Pause after a question to give space for processing. Time a short paragraph aloud and deliberately insert 3 purposeful pauses. Notice how the meaning becomes heavier and more memorable. Volume matters more than people think. It should be natural and present, not shouting. Test your projection by reading a paragraph to the far side of a room. If the last syllable thins, use more support from the diaphragm. When speaking one-on-one, reduce volume slightly but increase presence. Slower pace, fuller vowels, direct eye contact. When speaking to a group, aim for the back row. If the back row hears you, the front row will feel anchored. Words are the skeleton. Emotion is the muscle. Clarity does not demand flatness. Use sensory verbs and concrete nouns. Replace "I feel very excited about the project" with "my palms tighten and the idea sharpens." Swap "we did well" for "we increased sales by 18% in 3 months." Sensory language paints a scene and makes it easy to follow. Practice converting abstract sentences into concrete images. Take a paragraph of writing and rewrite every vague phrase into a specific detail. Read it aloud and feel the lightness of precision. Filler words steal credibility. And actually become habits under stress. The antidote is measurable. Track. For 3 days, record 5 minutes of your speech during work calls or conversations. Count each filler word. Set a realistic target to reduce them by half the following week. Replace a filler with a brief silent beat. Silence is a showing of control. It signals thoughtfulness. When a sentence threatens to spill with fillers, shorten it. Make the core statement and stop. Discipline here yields immediate gains in perceived authority. Structure gives the listener a path to follow. Every short speech or comment benefits from a simple 3-part frame. State a clear claim, offer a single reason, finish with an example or call to action. Practice this in daily exchanges. If someone asks for an update, answer this way. Claim, progress is steady. Reason, we completed the core module ahead of schedule. Example action, I'll send the demo by Friday. This structure reduces rambling and increases comprehension. Run a week of responses through this template and notice how conversations shorten and decisions accelerate. Listen with the intent to reflect, not to reply. Mastering clarity requires equal mastery of reception. When listening, hold the speaker's words like fragile objects. Mirror back a short summary before responding. So you're saying X and you want Y. This buys time to formulate a clearer response and signals respect. Listening amplifies the impact of your next sentence because you respond from understanding rather than reflect. Practice this in 3 daily interactions. Repeat, reflect, then respond, and measure how many conversations reach resolution faster. Vocal variety builds captivation. Monotone numbs attention. Practice shifting pitch, volume, and tempo across a single paragraph. Mark your text with up-down arrows where you want the voice to rise or fall. Use the highest point for the emotional peak and the lowest for consequences or finality. Emphasize 1 or 2 words per sentence to create texture. Record a short story and map the peaks. Then aim to hit those peaks intentionally during the next conversation. Storytelling is an engine for memory. Even data becomes compelling when wrapped in a human moment. Build a simple formula, set the scene with a sensory detail, introduce an immediate tension, and resolve with a clear takeaway. Keep stories short, 30 to 90 seconds, and end with a lesson the listener can apply. Test this at the next meeting. Open with a 30-second story about a specific mistake, and end with the corrective action. Notice attention levels and follow-up questions. Stories create emotional anchors. Clarity rides on their back. Feedback is a mirror. Embrace it without armor. Ask for one specific critique after a presentation. What one sentence could be clearer? Resist general praise and seek specific adjustments. Record and review your delivery weekly. Track one metric, filler count, average pause length, or clarity score on a 5-point scale from a trusted colleague. Small, measurable changes compound. The stoic discipline of daily review beats occasional bursts of practice. Create micro-practices that fit into real life. 2 minutes before a call. Center with 3 diaphragmatic breaths and a 1-line summary of your intention. During the commute, repeat 10 articulation drills silently. Each morning, read 1 paragraph of dense writing aloud to sharpen clarity. Keep a pocket notebook with 3 phrases you want to practice voicing that day. Over time, these micro-practices become the muscle memory of a clear speaker. Apply these skills immediately. Choose one upcoming interaction and design it with this checklist. Posture, breath, 3-part structure, 1 story, 2 purposeful pauses, and 1 measurable goal. E.g., get agreement to trial this idea for 2 weeks. Rehearse for 3 minutes. Record and listen. Deliver the interaction and note the result. This immediate application turns technique into habit. A final truth, clarity begets calm. When words are chosen and delivered with discipline, nervous energy finds a channel. The listener's mind drops the noise and follows the path you carved. The stoic speaker does not promise control over outcomes, only over preparation and delivery. Practice daily, measure honestly, and remove the unnecessary. Speak with purpose, and others will step through the door you open. Begin today with a 10-minute routine, 5 minutes of breath and posture work, 3 minutes of articulation and pacing drills, and 2 minutes rehearsing a 3-part response for a real conversation. After a week, record a 1-minute talk and count fillers. After a month, compare. Progress is small increments, stacked with persistence. Clarity is not flashy. It is reliable. It changes meetings into decisions, questions into commitments, and strangers into allies. Steady the breath, form the word, choose the image. Influence becomes a natural consequence. Number 2. Master listening before you speak. Listening is the silent art that transforms ordinary conversations into meaningful connections. It is the skill that distinguishes leaders from followers, mentors from talkers, and thinkers from mere reactors. Most people hear words, but few truly listen. Listening is not passive. It is active, disciplined, and intentional. Mastering it requires patience, awareness, and the ability to suspend the urge to immediately reply. Every conversation is a doorway to understanding, and listening carefully allows you to step fully inside before speaking. The first step in mastering listening is awareness. Most people enter discussions armed with assumptions, ready to defend or react, rather than understand. Awareness begins with a simple internal question: am I hearing the other person, or am I planning my next line? Observing this moment without judgment is critical. When you catch yourself preparing a response before the other has finished, pause, inhale, and redirect attention fully to the words being spoken. This small adjustment is deceptively powerful. It quiets mental chatter and signals to your mind that your priority is comprehension, not performance. Attention is the second pillar. True listening demands a level of focus often reserved for complex tasks. When someone speaks, resist distractions, the ping of a phone, wandering thoughts, or the urge to multitask. Give the speaker your undivided presence. Visualize each word landing in a container within your mind. Notice patterns, inflections, and pauses. The tone often carries more information than the words themselves. By observing micro changes in pitch, speed, and hesitation, you gain insight into emotions, priorities, and intentions. Listening well requires noticing what is said and what is left unsaid. Empathy is inseparable from listening. As you tune into the speaker, connect with the emotions beneath the words. Imagine their perspective as fully as possible without losing your own composure. This does not mean agreeing blindly or absorbing their stress. It means understanding the context and intention behind their words. A conversation rooted in empathy allows you to respond with relevance and care, rather than reflexive reaction. In practice, when someone shares frustration, instead of immediately offering a solution, acknowledge their state. I hear the challenges you're facing, and it sounds frustrating. This simple recognition deepens connection and lays the foundation for trust. Patience is an essential companion. Many conversations are rushed or interrupted, but mastery of listening involves endurance. Allow silence to exist. When someone pauses, resist the urge to fill the gap with words. Silence provides breathing room for ideas to form and signals to the speaker that their thoughts matter. In practical terms, this means maintaining calm body language, nodding subtly, and giving the conversation space to unfold naturally. Over time, your patience trains others to respect your attentiveness, creating higher quality interactions. Active engagement is critical. Listening is not merely absorbing. It requires reflection and at times clarification. Use short verbal cues such as "I understand" or "Tell me more about that," not as filler but as confirmation that you are following closely. Summarizing the speaker's key points in your own words demonstrates comprehension and allows any misinterpretation to be corrected immediately. For example, "So you're saying that the deadline feels unmanageable because of resource limitations." This simple structure ensures alignment and fosters clarity before any advice or opinion is offered. Observing nonverbal cues is equally important. Communication extends far beyond spoken words. Notice posture, gestures, eye contact, and facial expressions. These signals often convey truth hidden behind words, offering insight into emotions or underlying concerns. Train yourself to interpret these subtle cues without judgment. If a colleague nods but avoids eye contact, or if a friend speaks softly while fidgeting, these indicators reveal tension, hesitation, or uncertainty. Responding to these signals with attentiveness demonstrates deep understanding and emotional intelligence, key factors in building credibility and influence. Avoiding the trap of immediate judgment strengthens listening. Many people filter what they hear through biases, past experiences, or assumptions, often distorting the message before it is fully delivered. Practice suspending judgment entirely while listening. Mentally note observations without labeling them right or wrong. Consider every statement as data to analyze later, not as a challenge to counter immediately. This discipline allows conversations to remain open, honest, and constructive. Over time, you become known as someone who listens without agenda, a rare and valuable trait. Questioning strategically enhances comprehension. Thoughtful, targeted questions deepen understanding and encourage further dialogue. Instead of asking generic queries, focus on open-ended prompts that invite reflection. Can you walk me through how that happened, or what led you to that decision? Avoid questions designed to trap or contradict. Instead, frame them to uncover motivations, emotions, and reasoning. Strategic questioning coupled with attentive listening transforms simple exchanges into meaningful exploration, revealing information and insights that would otherwise remain hidden. Practice reflective listening consistently. This technique requires you to repeat or paraphrase what the other person has said to confirm understanding. For instance, after a colleague shares a complex idea, respond with, "If I understand correctly, you're proposing X because of Y, and you're concerned about Z." Reflection ensures accuracy, signals attentiveness, and reinforces the speaker's sense of being heard. Over time, it becomes an automatic part of your conversational style, greatly enhancing clarity and mutual respect. Managing internal reactions is crucial. When someone says something challenging, emotionally charged, or unexpected, resist the urge to react instantly. Pause, breathe, and focus on listening. Recognize that your mind will naturally generate counter-arguments, doubts, or judgments, but these are secondary to the task of understanding. By mastering this internal restraint, responses become deliberate, not reactive, and every interaction gains depth and thoughtfulness. Listening before speaking also strengthens memory and retention. When full attention is given to the speaker, details are captured more accurately. You can then reference them later to reinforce credibility, recalling a colleague's suggestion from a prior conversation, or acknowledging a friend's specific concern demonstrates attentiveness and builds trust. This practice turns casual exchanges into meaningful engagement and positions you as someone reliable and insightful. Daily exercises cultivate these habits. Dedicate 10 minutes a day to conscious listening practice. Choose a podcast, lecture, or conversation and focus entirely on comprehension. Take notes on emotions, key ideas, and subtle cues. Repeat the content silently, summarizing its essence. Gradually, this strengthens focus, analytical listening, and emotional awareness. Apply the same rigor in personal and professional interactions. With discipline, listening becomes second nature, guiding the rhythm and tone of your responses naturally. Listening is a form of respect that creates space for influence. People are drawn to those who understand them deeply, and influence flows from the perception of being genuinely heard. Every conversation you enter with full attention plants seeds of credibility. The act of listening before speaking positions you not as a reactive voice in the crowd, but as a deliberate presence whose words carry weight because they are informed, considered, and empathetic. The ultimate reward of mastering listening before speaking is clarity of action. Decisions become better, relationships deepen, and communication becomes more efficient. Misunderstandings reduce, conflicts resolve faster, and collaboration thrives. Listening first transforms ordinary dialogue into a tool for growth, insight, and connection. It is the quiet discipline that builds influence, strengthens character, and prepares you to respond with precision, authority, and wisdom. To begin today, commit to 3 practices. Observe fully without planning a response. Pause before speaking, and reflect what is said to confirm understanding. Track progress with notes or recordings. Notice how interactions shift when listening precedes speaking. Over weeks, these deliberate choices embed deeply into daily behavior, turning skill into instinct. Mastery emerges not from innate talent, but from repeated, disciplined application. Listening before speaking is not passive submission. It is intentional power. Each interaction becomes a chance to gather insight, demonstrate respect, and build trust. Speak only after absorbing, processing, and understanding, and every word will land with precision. In a world full of noise, those who listen first and speak thoughtfully command attention without raising their voice. Patience, focus, empathy, and discipline converge to create the profound impact of this simple yet transformative habit. When attention, awareness, and reflection govern your responses, influence grows naturally. People sense authenticity, gravitate toward clarity, and respond to reasoned expression. Listening before speaking transforms conversations into instruments of understanding and action. It is the foundation upon which effective communication, leadership, and meaningful human connection are built. Over time, this single principle, listen deeply, speak deliberately, reshapes both professional success and personal growth. It is not flashy or immediate, but it is relentless, practical, and profoundly effective. Master listening before speaking, and words gain power. Silence becomes strategic, attention becomes meaningful, and every conversation becomes an opportunity to understand, connect, and influence. This is not a skill acquired overnight, but through persistent daily practice, observation, and relention. The discipline of listening first cultivates patience, strengthens relationships, and magnifies clarity. In every exchange, prioritize understanding. When speaking finally comes, it will carry weight, precision, and the unmistakable authority of someone who has truly listened. Number 3. Build confidence through daily practice. Confidence is not a gift granted to a fortunate few. It is a skill built one deliberate action at a time. It is forged in the quiet discipline of daily effort, shaped by repetition, reflection, and persistence. True confidence does not rely on circumstance, luck, or external validation. It grows from preparation, small wins, and consistent self-mastery. Every moment presents an opportunity to practice confidence, whether through action, thought, or presence. Understanding this shifts the mindset means hoping to feeling capable and prepared. The foundation of daily confidence begins with routine. Each morning, engage in a small practice that centers you in your own capability. Stand before a mirror, not for vanity, but for alignment. Observe posture, gaze, and expression. Seek a short affirmation aloud, not hollow words, but statements rooted in intention. I am prepared. I am capable. I respond with clarity and purpose. These daily repetitions train both mind and body to inhabit confidence as a natural state, not an occasional performance. Action is inseparable from belief. Confidence grows through experience, and experience requires deliberate steps. Set daily micro-goals that push boundaries just beyond comfort. You may be initiating a conversation with a colleague, pitching an idea in a short meeting, or presenting a thought to a small group. Each completed task, no matter how small, deposits a proof in the mental bank of self-efficacy. Confidence compounds when you consistently take these small, deliberate actions. Visualization is a subtle yet powerful tool. Spend time imagining yourself performing tasks with composure, competence, and authority. Visualize the scene in full detail, the sounds, the physical sensations, and the reactions of others. This rehearsal strengthens neural pathways, so when the moment arrives, your body and mind respond with less hesitation. Visualization prepares you to navigate both success and minor setbacks, ensuring that fear or uncertainty cannot dominate your response. Preparation underpins confidence. Nothing builds trust in your own ability more than mastery over the material, scenario, or skill at hand. Allocate dedicated time each day to study, practice, or refine knowledge relevant to your goals. Preparation is not passive, it is active engagement. By understanding the depth of your field, anticipating questions, and rehearsing responses, uncertainty diminishes and confidence flourishes. This creates a feedback loop. Preparation reduces doubt, doubt diminishes hesitation, and decisive action reinforces self-belief. Body language is a nonverbal amplifier of internal confidence. Stand tall, shoulders relaxed, chest open, and gaze forward. The body signals the mind just as the mind guides the body. Practice deliberate, controlled movements when walking, gesturing, or interacting. Small physical adjustments, steady eye contact, deliberate hand placement, and controlled gestures Communicate presence and certainty. Over time, these habits align internal conviction with external expression, creating the seamless appearance and sensation of confidence. Failure is an essential component, not a hindrance. Each setback is an opportunity to practice resilience, one of the most vital aspects of genuine confidence. Reframe failure as a data point, not a judgment on your worth. After a misstep, reflect calmly: what was controllable, what could be adjusted next time. This analysis strengthens the mind's capacity to respond without panic, fear, or shame. Daily exposure to challenges, even small ones, builds mental toughness, and mental toughness is inseparable from enduring confidence. Speak deliberately to reinforce belief. The way words are delivered impacts both perception and internal state. Articulate thoughts slowly and clearly, emphasizing key points with precision. Avoid filler words and rushed phrasing. Deliberate speech signals mastery and invites trust from others and self. Repetition of intentional speech each day, even in solitary practice, trains the mind to inhabit clarity and authority effortlessly. Over time, this deliberate verbal practice cements a natural cadence of confidence in all interaction. Reflection strengthens insight and progress. Each evening, take time to review the day's actions, noting instances of effective confidence and moments where hesitation arose. Consider what triggered self-doubt and how it can be mitigated tomorrow. Journaling is an effective method, allowing patterns to emerge and offering a visual record of growth. This conscious reflection transforms daily experiences into cumulative lessons, reinforcing belief in one's ability to adapt, improve, and execute. Consistency is more valuable than intensity. Confidence is built through small, repeated actions, rather than sporadic bursts of bravado. Schedule daily exercises that reinforce capability, reading aloud, engaging in brief public speaking, or tackling minor challenges with intentionality. Over weeks and months, these cumulative efforts create a solid foundation that supports higher-risk situations with composure and poise. The mind begins to recognize habitual competence as the default, and hesitation diminishes naturally. Mindset governs perception of self-capability. Replace internal criticism with constructive evaluation. Instead of thinking, "I'm not ready," consider, "I will learn as I act, and each attempt strengthens my ability." Daily affirmation of effort over outcome shifts focus from fear to action. Reinforcing this mindset repeatedly trains neural patterns that favor action and resilience over avoidance and doubt. Confidence, therefore, becomes less about innate talent and more about disciplined daily reinforcement of capability. Body-mind synchronization is crucial. Engage in daily physical practices that cultivate energy and control, light exercise, breath work, or controlled stretching. Physical discipline anchors mental state. When the body is aligned, energized, and steady, the mind naturally mirrors these qualities. Confidence manifests in posture, gait, and tone, reflecting the disciplined synchronization of body and mind. Daily attention to these physical routines ensures that confidence is not merely cognitive, but embodied, influencing how others perceive and respond to you. Social exposure trains adaptability. Interact intentionally with a range of personalities and settings daily. Each encounter becomes a rehearsal for composure under varied circumstances. Engage in brief conversations with strangers, present small ideas to groups, or participate in collaborative tasks. These repeated exposures desensitize fear, build social fluency, and reinforce the internal narrative that you can navigate diverse scenarios with poise. Incremental social challenges become cumulative, embedding confidence as instinctive. Celebrate micro successes. Each completed task, each courageous statement, or each well-handled interaction is evidence of capability. Take a moment to acknowledge it mentally or document it. Recognition, even subtle, reinforces the neural pathways associated with accomplishment, strengthening internal belief. Over time, these small victories build a robust framework for tackling larger challenges with assurance. Daily recognition of achievement trains the mind to notice competence rather than flaws. Decision-making strengthens self-trust. Daily practice involves taking decisive action, even in minor matters, with full ownership of outcomes. Avoid excessive deliberation that undermines confidence. Begin with small, low-risk choices, then gradually increase stakes as competence and trust in judgment grow. Each decision executed thoughtfully and responsibly reinforces internal validation, reducing dependence on external approval. Confident decision-making, honed through daily practice, translates to influence, leadership, and consistency in presentation builds credibility. Dress, grooming, and overall presence communicate confidence before words are spoken. Allocate daily attention to these details as part of self-discipline, recognizing that visual cues shape perception both internally and externally. A consistent personal presentation reinforces belief in self and enhances authority in the eyes of others. Confidence is reinforced when the mind and appearance align with intentional standards. Visualization of progress magnifies effort. Each day, imagine the version of yourself who embodies complete poise, courage, and clarity. Envision navigating challenges smoothly, responding decisively, and commanding presence effortless. This repeated mental rehearsal primes behavior, reducing hesitation and building anticipation of success. Visualization complements tangible practice, ensuring that daily actions are guided by a clear internal model of competence. Resilience practice fortifies confidence. When setbacks occur, treat them as controlled exercises in persistence. Apply disciplined reflection, adapt strategy, and daily engagement with manageable stressors, deadlines, difficult conversations, minor challenges teaches endurance and self-reliance. Over time, these cumulative experiences form a mental reservoir from which confidence naturally draws during higher stakes moments. The mind becomes trained to respond with calm and certainty, regardless of circumstance. Incorporate micro-practices into ordinary life. Speak first in brief interactions, take the lead on small tasks, or offer insight during discussions. These tiny acts, repeated each day, become automatic demonstrations of competence. The habit of initiating, contributing, and acting decisively reinforces internal belief and communicates authority externally. Daily, disciplined application embeds confidence into character rather than leaving it situational or superficial. Accountability accelerates growth. Track efforts, note achievements, and identify areas for refinement. Share progress with a trusted peer or mentor who can provide constructive insight. Daily reporting, even in small ways, sharpens self-awareness and ensures that confidence is continually challenged and expanded. Consistent accountability transforms sporadic effort into cumulative mastery. By committing to deliberate daily practice, through posture, voice, action, reflection, exposure, and resilience, confidence becomes ingrained. It shifts from fragile to habitual, from fleeting to enduring. Each day's effort builds upon the previous, creating a cumulative reservoir of capability that empowers thought, speech, and action. Confidence is no longer a reaction to circumstance, but a cultivated state of being. When practiced intentionally, it becomes a reliable tool, a visible presence, and a guiding principle in every facet of life. True confidence is the sum of countless daily practices executed with discipline and awareness. It is not brashness or arrogance. It is readiness, composure, and conviction cultivated over time. By embracing daily routines that strengthen body, mind, and behavior, each individual can step into situations with certainty, respond to challenges with clarity, and inspire trust in themselves and others. Confidence, meticulously built each day, transforms potential into performance, fear into action, and thought into authority. Number 4. Transform words into powerful actions. Words alone carry little weight without the force of deliberate action behind them. Every statement, promise, or declaration is a seed, but without execution, it remains a thought, never a reality. Transforming words into powerful actions begins with alignment, the alignment of intent, preparation, and deliberate follow-through. To speak is easy, to act is the measure of integrity. Words are only as strong as the consistent behavior that gives them substance. Understanding this principle changes the way one communicates, behaves, and influences, turning simple language into a tool for tangible impact. Intent shapes effectiveness. Before uttering any phrase or making a commitment, clarify its purpose. Every sentence should carry direction and potential. Ask yourself, what outcome do I intend to produce? Who will be affected by my words? How can my message catalyze meaningful change? Intent ensures that communication is not hollow chatter, but a catalyst for action. When intent is firmly established, every word becomes a map, pointing toward a specific result. Precision in language enhances the transition from speech to action. Vague statements produce vague results. Replace abstract expressions with specific, actionable declarations. For example, instead of saying, "I want to help the team," say, "I will review the project plan by 5 p.m. and provide feedbacks." Specificity creates clarity and establishes measurable benchmarks for accountability. Daily practice involves converting general ideas into detailed plans of action, which reduces ambiguity and ensures that promises can be fulfilled consistently. Actionable follow-through is the essence of credibility. Speaking commitments without execution erodes trust, while consistent delivery strengthens influence. Each day, identify one statement you can turn into measurable action. Track progress. Meticulous completion, no matter how small, reinforces the habit of translating words into deeds. Over time, this practice embeds a reliable pattern of action that others recognize, respect, and rely upon. Words without action fade quickly. Habitual alignment makes them unforgettable. Preparation bridges intention and execution. Consider the gap between saying, "I will lead this initiative," and actually delivering results. Preparation ensures readiness. Break down tasks into discrete steps. Allocate time and anticipate obstacles. Mentally rehearse potential challenges and responses. When preparation is thorough, action flows naturally from words. Each day, dedicate time to plan, practice, and visualize implementation, reinforcing the connection between communication and tangible result. Consistency magnifies impact. Isolated actions produce temporary effects. Repeated follow-through creates authority and trust. Make action habitual by establishing routines tied to your statements. For example, if you commit to providing feedback, schedule daily or weekly time blocks dedicated solely to that task. The repetition of accountable behavior signals reliability, transforming promises into recognized patterns. Words become powerful not because they are spoken, but because they are consistently executed. Timing enhances effectiveness. Actions aligned with words are amplified when executed at the right moment. Observe context carefully before initiating tasks promised verbally. Consider external factors, readiness of others, and urgency of objectives. Timing is a force multiplier. Acting too soon or too late can reduce influence, while strategic alignment creates momentum. Daily practice involves observing circumstances, gauging optimal moments, and executing tasks in synchrony with opportunity. Clarity ensures understanding. Communicating expectations before taking action eliminates confusion and strengthens results. Clearly articulate what you intend to do, how it will be accomplished, and when it will be completed. This transparency creates mutual understanding and allows others to support, collaborate, or respond appropriately. Misunderstood statements can lead to misaligned actions. Careful clarity transforms intentions into effective outcomes. Integration of emotion with logic reinforces motivation. Actions born solely from obligation often falter, while those guided by emotional engagement sustain effort. Connect statements with genuine feeling, passion, curiosity, or concern, and channel that energy into deliberate steps. For example, expressing enthusiasm for a team's success while simultaneously contributing actively to the project multiplies both the credibility of words and the effectiveness of action. Emotional investment transforms routine behavior into compelling results. Monitoring and reflection reinforce learning and improvement. After acting on statements, evaluate outcomes critically. Did the action fulfill the intended objective? Were results communicated effectively to stakeholders? Identify lessons for refinement and document successes to build a repository of proven strategies. Daily reflection ensures that each action is not an isolated event, but a step in an ongoing cycle of growth, accountability, and mastery. Prioritization determines which words become actions first. Not every statement can or should be acted upon immediately. Assess impact, urgency, and alignment with long-term goals. Select key promises that, when fulfilled, will produce the greatest influence. Acting on high-leverage statements demonstrates capability and judgment, while lower-impact declarations can be addressed progressively. This prioritization ensures that effort is applied where it generates the most tangible result. Discipline bridges intention and action in everyday life. It is easy to say, "I will do this," but resisting distraction, procrastination, or convenience requires conscious effort. Build daily practices that strengthen self-control and follow through. Break large commitments into manageable tasks and tackle them consistently. By cultivating discipline, the mind and body develop the habit of turning verbal intent into deliberate behavior without hesitation or excuse. Storytelling converts words into actionable inspiration. When sharing ideas, frame them in a narrative that illustrates specific behaviors or results. Stories contextualize abstract concepts, making it easier for listeners to understand and emulate intended actions. Practice crafting narratives that include clear objectives, challenges, and resolutions. By demonstrating actions through storytelling, words become instructions and motivations simultaneously, inspiring both yourself and others to act. Collaboration amplifies the effect of transforming words into deeds. Engage others with transparent communication and assign actionable steps that complement shared goals. Words paired with coordinated effort multiply results far beyond individual capacity. Each day, ensure that statements of intent are accompanied by clear delegation, roles, or collaborative strategies. Collaboration transforms solitary promises into shared achievement, reinforcing credibility and collective momentum. Accountability ensures integrity. Commit to sharing progress, publicly, or with a trusted observer who can provide objective feedback. Reporting on action taken validates promises, maintains focus, and reinforces the discipline of execution. Accountability converts intentions into observable reality, strengthening the alignment between words and results. Daily check-ins, even brief, cement responsibility and prevent erosion of credibility. Adaptability transforms challenges into opportunities. Words spoken today may face unforeseen obstacles tomorrow. Respond with flexible strategies without abandoning initial intent. Adjust execution methods, timing, or resources while maintaining fidelity to the original commitment. This responsiveness ensures that promises remain meaningful and results are realized despite changing circumstances. Daily practice in adapting plans while honoring commitments strengthens resilience and effective focus, ensures that energy is concentrated on the most impactful tasks. Distraction dilutes action, rendering even well-intentioned words ineffective. Begin each day by identifying core priorities that align with spoken commitments. Allocate attention exclusively to these objectives, minimizing multitasking or irrelevant engagement. By concentrating effort, actions maintain potency, and words consistently translate into measurable outcomes. Integration of reflection, preparation, and execution creates momentum. Words initiate thought, preparation structures it, and deliberate action manifests it. Each day, review commitments, outline actionable steps, implement them with precision, and assess results. This continuous cycle transforms ordinary statements into extraordinary influence, embedding the habit of turning intention into observable achievement. Over time, this repetition reinforces confidence, competence, and authority, establishing a reputation of reliability. Transformation occurs when language and behavior are inseparable. The person who consistently acts on their statements inspires trust, motivates others, and commands respect without coercion. Each interaction becomes a demonstration of integrity and effectiveness. By cultivating this practice daily, the boundary between intention and result disappears. Words become catalysts for reality, and communication evolves from mere expression into powerful, observable influence. The act of converting speech into action begins with small, deliberate steps, repeated consistently. Daily commitment to follow-through, precise articulation, emotional alignment, and disciplined reflection ensures that every word carries consequence. Over time, This relentless practice embeds an internal framework that guarantees reliability and amplifies influence. Words without action fade. Words paired with persistent execution become transformative. Through careful intention, preparation, and disciplined practice, communication evolves into a force that shapes outcomes, builds trust, and manifests visions into reality. Every day offers opportunities to reinforce this principle. Identify one statement to act on immediately, plan its execution in detail, observe outcomes, and refine the process for next time. Progress compounds when actions are aligned with words consistently. By dedicating time and focus to this cycle, the habit of transforming speech into action becomes automatic, visible, and powerful. Influence grows, goals are achieved, and trust becomes earned through consistent demonstration. Words, when backed by disciplined effort, cease to be mere ideas and become unstoppable forces of effect. Transforming words into action is the hallmark of reliability, leadership, and impact. It is cultivated through conscious intent, meticulous preparation, deliberate execution, and reflective learning. Daily discipline turns promises into practice, declarations into results, and statements into influence. The person who masters this principle communicates not just ideas, but outcomes. Each day of committed practice strengthens the bridge between speech and effect, establishing a presence that commands attention, inspires action, and produces tangible, lasting results. Number 5. Engage emotions. Captivate your audience. Emotions are the unseen threads that connect minds and hearts, turning mere words into unforgettable experiences. Captivation is not achieved by facts alone. It emerges when feelings intersect with thought, when listeners sense the energy and intent behind every expression. Engaging emotions is the secret that transforms ordinary communication into influence, impact, and memory. It requires presence, authenticity, and the courage to allow vulnerability to surface in measured ways. To captivate an audience, one must first understand that humans respond not only to information, but to the resonance of emotion embedded within it. The first step is self-awareness. Before one can evoke emotion in others, it is necessary to identify, understand, and regulate one's own feelings. Emotions are contagious, and the state you carry will ripple outward to your audience. Cultivate mindfulness to recognize subtle shifts in your mood, energy, and mental clarity. Practice observing sensations in the body, tension, lightness, excitement, or anxiety. Label them without judgment, and adjust posture, breathing, or focus to align internal energy with your intended message. The more consciously you manage your own emotional presence, the more effectively you can transmit it to others. Authenticity is non-negotiable. Audiences sense insincerity instinctively, even when words are carefully chosen. Speak from a place of truth, acknowledging real experiences, challenges, or passions. Share personal stories, struggles, and victories that reveal your humanity. This vulnerability does not weaken authority. It enhances credibility. When listeners perceive authenticity, they are more likely to invest attention, trust, and emotional engagement. Daily practice includes reflecting on experiences that shaped you and identifying how to express them naturally, without embellishment or performance. Empathy bridges the gap between speaker and audience. Effective communication requires understanding not only your own emotions, but also the emotional landscape of others. Anticipate how your words may be received, and adjust tone, phrasing, and pace accordingly. Observe reactions carefully. Facial expressions, body language, and subtle vocal cues provide insight into emotional responses. Respond dynamically, amplifying engagement or softening delivery as necessary. Daily exercises might include observing conversations in public spaces or media and identifying emotional triggers that capture attention. Storytelling is a primary vehicle for emotional engagement. Humans are wired to respond to narrative, construct messages as arcs, a clear beginning, a conflict or tension, and a resolution. Use vivid sensory details to make experiences tangible. Describe sights, sounds, textures, and feelings that immerse the listener in the moment. Short, Well-crafted stories create empathy and anchor ideas in memory. Practice converting abstract concepts into personal or observed stories, ensuring that each tale aligns with the emotional takeaway you intend to convey. Vocal modulation enhances the emotional impact of communication. The human ear responds to variation in tone, pace, and volume. Slow down to emphasize gravity, raise pitch slightly to signal excitement, and lower it to instill seriousness or reflection. Purposeful pauses punctuate important points and give listeners space to absorb both information and feeling. Daily practice includes reading aloud and experimenting with vocal dynamics to find the balance that evokes attention and emotional resonance. Record and analyze these exercises to refine control. Body language amplifies emotional presence. Gestures, posture, and facial expressions reinforce verbal content. Open, confident stances invite attention and trust, while purposeful gestures emphasize key points. Facial expressions aligned with the intended emotional tone make abstract concepts tangible. Observe oneself in video recordings to identify natural patterns and adjust habits that may weaken engagement. By consistently practicing congruent body language, the speaker ensures that every movement supports, rather than contradicts, the emotional message. Emotionally charged language captures attention. Words that evoke imagery, sensation, or value provoke stronger engagement than neutral terms. Replace generic descriptions with concrete, vivid language. For instance, instead of "we had a good outcome," say, "the project exceeded expectations," sparking excitement and pride across the team. Subtle emphasis on active descriptive verbs stimulates imagination and elicits emotional response. Daily practice includes rewriting sentences or paragraphs to heighten sensory and emotional impact, then reading them aloud to experience their resonance. Interaction deepens emotional captivation. Encourage audience participation through questions, reflective prompts, or shared experiences. Invite listeners to visualize scenarios or recall personal feelings. Engagement is reciprocal. The audience must be mentally and emotionally involved, not passive. Develop exercises to create brief opportunities for shared reflection or silent response, which significantly strengthens attention and connection. Over time, integrating interactive elements becomes instinctive, enhancing both rapport and retention. Rhythm and pacing are emotional tools. Rapid speech conveys excitement or urgency, while deliberate pacing communicates seriousness or contemplation. Vary sentence length and cadence to create tension, relief, or emphasis. Carefully planned pauses heighten anticipation or allow absorption of complex ideas. Daily rehearsal of passages with attention to tempo and rhythm develops a natural, intuitive flow, ensuring delivery resonates emotionally and maintains listener focus. Listening enhances emotional influence. Awareness of audience reactions allows real-time adaptation of tone, content, and emphasis. By observing micro-expressions, posture shifts, and subtle vocal changes, one can adjust delivery to maximize engagement. Incorporate regular exercises in observational listening, noting how emotional cues correspond to the resonance of the message. Adapting dynamically demonstrates sensitivity and responsiveness, reinforcing the connection between speaker and audience. Authenticity in emotion requires balance. Overly dramatic or contrived expressions risk alienating listeners, while excessive restraint may fail to engage. Practice calibration. Identify natural emotional intensity appropriate to content and audience context. Reflect on past experiences where over or under expression occurred, and extract lessons for measured, impactful delivery. Daily rehearsal in front of a mirror or recording device allows refinement without risk, ensuring emotional expression is compelling but credible. Confidence underpins emotional captivation. A speaker who doubts or hesitates communicates uncertainty that diminishes engagement. Cultivate self-assurance through preparation, rehearsal, and mastery of subject matter. Confidence signals competence and allows emotional expression to be perceived as intentional rather than accidental. Small daily practices, including reviewing content aloud and simulating audience responses, reinforce poise, ensuring emotions are transmitted with authority. Memory anchors strengthen retention. Repetition of emotional phrases, gestures, or stories at strategic moments enhances impact. Introduce a signature story, phrase, or visual example that the audience can recall easily. Strategic repetition solidifies connection and increases the likelihood that the emotional message will linger beyond the immediate interaction. Practice selecting one memorable emotional element per presentation or conversation, and integrated conscious reflection enhances ongoing development. After each interaction, analyze which emotional strategies resonated, which gestures or vocal patterns were effective, and where attention lagged. Keep a journal of observations, noting adjustments for future opportunities. Continuous assessment and refinement reinforce capability, ensuring that engagement grows stronger with every encounter. Daily reflection consolidates lessons and translates experience into skill. Emotion and action are inseparable. Words that stir feeling must be paired with gestures, examples, or follow-through that reinforce credibility. Without action, emotion risks being fleeting or perceived as manipulation. Ensure that each emotionally charged statement is supported by evidence, demonstration, or subsequent behavior. Daily integration of this principle trains the habit of linking emotional impact to tangible demonstration, strengthening influence. Curiosity sustains attention. Pique interest by introducing questions, paradoxes, or unexpected elements that engage emotional curiosity. Encourage the audience to anticipate outcomes, forming an emotional investment in the narrative or argument. Daily practice in crafting sentences or stories that provoke curiosity sharpens instinct and refines ability to captivate consistently. Energy management affects emotional perception. Fatigue, monotone delivery, or distracted demeanor dampen resonance. Practice regulating energy levels to match the intended impact. Morning routines, breath control, and brief physical activation before presentations optimize presence. Monitor subtle cues, ensuring that energy aligns with emotional content. Daily habits that regulate stamina, focus, and enthusiasm magnify audience engagement. Trust reinforces emotional influence, demonstrating reliability, consistency, and honesty allows listeners to accept vulnerability and passion. Build trust through small commitments, transparent communication, and consistent follow-through. Emotional captivation is amplified when the audience perceives the speaker as credible and dependable. Daily reinforcement of integrity in speech and behavior strengthens both emotional and cognitive influence. Through deliberate awareness, authenticity, empathy, storytelling, vocal modulation, body language, emotional language, interaction, rhythm, listening, calibration, confidence, repetition, reflection, action, curiosity, energy management, and trust, emotions can be harnessed to captivate effectively. Daily practice of these elements transforms communication from mere transmission of information into a compelling experience that lingers, influences, and inspires. Every interaction becomes an opportunity to connect deeply, guide thought, and evoke meaningful response, ensuring that words do not merely exist, but resonate powerfully with the hearts and minds of those who hear them. Engaging emotions is not a transient skill, but a cultivated art that grows through repetition, observation, and intentional refinement. When practiced consistently, it turns ordinary conversations into influential exchanges, strengthens relationships, and builds a presence that commands attention naturally. Daily dedication to understanding, expressing, and calibrating emotion empowers the speaker to create lasting impressions and meaningful influence. Emotions, carefully harnessed and delivered, become the bridge between ideas and action, thought and impact, word and transformation. Number 6. Eliminate filler words. Sound professional. Every word we speak carries weight, but filler words, like, actually, and countless others, dilute authority and distract from the core message. They seep in unconsciously, often under pressure or uncertainty, and transform confident communication into tentative, unconvincing chatter. The difference between sounding professional and sounding hesitant is not always what you say, but how deliberately you choose and deliver every syllable. Eliminating filler words is more than stylistic refinement. It is a practice of clarity, self-control, and credibility that must be cultivated with discipline. The first step is awareness. Most people are unaware of how often filler words punctuate their speech, because they become automatic under stress. Begin by recording ordinary conversations or short presentations. Play back the recordings and count each filler word. Notice the situations, emotions, or topics that trigger them. Perhaps it is a high-stakes conversation, uncertainty about content, or fatigue. Simply observing these patterns without judgment is a transformative exercise. Awareness is the prerequisite to control. Preparation strengthens natural fluency. Filler words often emerge when the mind scrambles for structure or content. Combat this by clarifying your message before speaking. Outline key points mentally or on paper. Practice articulating sentences aloud in advance. Rehearsal builds a map for thoughts, reducing the need for verbal padding. Even a few minutes of preparation each day conditions the mind to express ideas deliberately, minimizing gaps that fillers attempt to fill. Pausing replaces fillers. Silence is a tool that conveys thoughtfulness and authority, whereas filler words convey hesitation. Train yourself to pause intentionally whenever you feel the urge to say or like. During the pause, breathe, align your posture, and focus on the next word. Initially, it may feel uncomfortable, but each controlled pause reinforces self-discipline and allows the listener to absorb your message. Daily exercises that emphasize pause over filler gradually train natural, professional cadence. Slow speech reduces filler frequency. Rapid delivery gives the mind insufficient time to formulate coherent sentences, resulting in verbal crutches. Consciously slow down your pace, emphasizing clarity and rhythm. Pronounce each word fully, enunciating consonants and vowels deliberately. A moderate, controlled tempo creates space for thought and reduces unconscious verbal habits. Daily practice includes reading aloud, recording and noting instances where acceleration triggers fillers, refining the balance between natural flow and precision. Breath control anchors speech. Filler words often appear when the speaker gasps for air or rushes to fill silence. Diaphragmatic breathing stabilizes voice and provides a natural rhythm. Inhale deeply, support words with steady exhalation, and speak from the diaphragm. Daily exercises, such as repeating long sentences without fillers while maintaining breath support, condition the vocal system and mind to replace hesitation with controlled expression. Word selection improves confidence. Hesitation often arises when vocabulary feels uncertain or repetitive. Expand active vocabulary and practice structuring sentences with precision. Replace vague terms with concrete alternatives, reducing uncertainty that leads to filler words. For example, instead of saying, "I think we might need some changes," one could say, "We should implement these adjustments." Precision in language eliminates ambiguity and naturally mirrors the impulse to fill gaps with unnecessary words. Mental framing strengthens clarity. Approach every conversation or presentation with an internal script of intention and key messages. Anticipate questions and rehearse concise responses. Visualize the flow of ideas from point A to point B. When the brain is guided by mental structure, it is less likely to default to fillers as a placeholder. Daily practice includes mentally rehearsing scenarios and practicing concise framing, conditioning the mind to speak deliberately under pressure. Listening to oneself is transformative. Habitual filler use is often invisible to the speaker. Make a conscious effort to notice when words or phrases slip in mid-conversation. When you detect a filler word, stop mentally and reset for the next phrase. The act of immediate correction builds reflexive awareness. Over time, this self-monitoring embeds control into daily speech, reducing unconscious reliance on verbal crutch. Physical anchoring improves verbal discipline. Simple gestures or posture adjustments can reinforce attention and presence, decreasing filler use. Plant your feet, align your spine, and engage subtle hand gestures that mirror sentence structure. The body supports mental clarity. Each controlled movement anchors thought, ensuring words are chosen deliberately rather than pulled out of habit. Daily embodiment practice trains integrated mind-body awareness, which manifests as authoritative speech. Segmented practice isolates triggers. Identify recurrent situations where fillers emerge, answering unexpected questions, explaining complex topics, or expressing uncertainty. Rehearse these scenarios in controlled environments. Role-play interactions. Record yourself and simulate pressure to practice responses. Repetition under realistic conditions strengthens resilience and reduces dependency on fillers during real-world interactions. Daily attention to these high-risk moments embeds confidence and clarity. Use cue words intentionally. Rather than letting fillers slip in unconsciously, develop brief, deliberate phrases that structure thought. Words such as first, next, or let's examine provide transitions while maintaining professionalism. They give the brain minimal scaffolding without undermining authority. Daily rehearsal of transitions and signposting phrases creates a verbal rhythm that enhances coherence and reduces accidental filler. Feedback accelerates mastery. Seek honest, constructive critique from colleagues, mentors, or trusted peers. Ask them to note any filler words during conversation or presentation. Objective observation reveals patterns the speaker cannot detect alone. Establishing a daily or weekly feedback loop, combined with personal recording, ensures ongoing refinement and rapid improvement. External input reinforces self-awareness and consolidates professional speech habits. Mindset shapes outcomes. Accept that eliminating fillers requires patience and consistent practice. View each conversation as an opportunity to train the habit of deliberate speech, rather than judging mistakes harshly. Progress is gradual. Persistence produces measurable results. Daily affirmation of commitment to professional, concise speech strengthens resolve, ensuring that effort becomes habitual rather than episodic. Integration of multiple techniques solidifies results. Combine awareness, preparation, pausing, breath control, vocabulary precision, mental framing, self-monitoring, physical anchoring, scenario rehearsal, cue words, and feedback into daily practice. Use small exercises, such as a 5-minute speaking drill, recording short explanations, or summarizing content without fillers. Repetition under conscious attention converts deliberate effort into automatic professional expression. Consistency reinforces credibility. Eliminating filler words does more than polish style. It signals confidence, authority, and competence. Listeners perceive the speaker as knowledgeable, focused, and trustworthy. Daily practice ensures that this perception is authentic rather than forced, making speech naturally persuasive and commanding. Each filler-free interaction strengthens reputation and builds cumulative professional presence. Micro-habits sustain improvement. Introduce small, manageable practices, such as silent pauses before responses, speaking one sentence at a time in daily conversations, or practicing concise summaries of complex topics. Repeated consistently, these micro-habits transform casual communication into precise, professional delivery. Daily implementation is critical. Small incremental gains compound into noticeable transformation over time. Recording and playback amplify awareness. Listening to oneself objectively exposes habitual fillers that may escape conscious notice. Analyze tone, pace, and filler placement, then rehearse improved delivery. Apply changes immediately in subsequent interactions. The cycle of recording, reviewing, and refining develops both technical skill and internalized discipline, ensuring sustained improvement. Every interaction is an opportunity. Conversations with colleagues, friends, or family serve as training grounds. Challenge yourself to reduce fillers incrementally during each exchange. Recognize progress and areas for refinement. Daily commitment to mindful, deliberate speech builds lasting habits that extend to presentations, meetings, and high-stakes scenarios, creating a foundation of professional authority. Eliminating filler words is a comprehensive practice that integrates awareness, preparation, controlled pacing, breath, vocabulary, reflection, physical presence, rehearsal, and feedback. When these elements converge, speech becomes precise, confident, and impactful. Professionalism emerges naturally, and credibility strengthens through consistent demonstration. Words gain weight, and every sentence communicates competence. Daily dedication transforms ordinary communication into purposeful, authoritative expression, ensuring that speech commands attention and fosters respect. The transformation requires persistence. Mistakes will occur. Filler words may slip during stress or fatigue, Acknowledge them without judgment, reset, and continue with deliberate speech. Each moment of correction reinforces the pattern, gradually embedding automatic professionalism. Over weeks and months, habitual filler words diminish, and speech becomes fluid, confident, and persuasive. The disciplined practice of eliminating filler words is not a superficial polish. It is a cornerstone of professional presence, clear communication, and sustained influence in any setting. Number 7. Ask questions. Create meaningful connections. Asking questions is the bridge between surface interaction and deep human connection. Every question is an invitation, a signal that you value the perspective of another person and are willing to step beyond assumptions into genuine understanding. Effective questioning is not merely a tool for gathering information. It is a deliberate strategy to foster trust, empathy, and engagement. When questions are crafted thoughtfully, they spark dialogue, reveal motivations, and transform ordinary exchanges into meaningful relationships. Learning to ask questions skillfully is the key to creating connections that endure and resonate. The foundation of meaningful questioning is curiosity. Genuine curiosity fuels questions that are thoughtful rather than perfunctory. Approach every conversation with the intent to discover something new, to understand deeply, or to explore perspectives beyond your own. This mindset eliminates mechanical, surface-level inquiries and replaces them with questions that evoke insight and reflection. Daily practice begins by consciously noticing areas of uncertainty or curiosity in interactions and framing them into deliberate open-ended questions. Open-ended questions are powerful catalysts. Questions that require more than a yes or no answer invite narrative, reasoning, and emotion. For instance, instead of asking, "Did you like the project?" consider, "What aspects of the project challenged you the most, and why?" Open-ended questions signal interest, invite elaboration, and naturally create space for meaningful dialogue. Practicing the art of rephrasing closed questions into open-ended alternatives enhances connection and deepens understanding. Timing is critical in effective questioning. A well-placed question resonates far more than one thrown into conversation without consideration. Observe the flow of dialogue, notice pauses, and sense the emotional tone before interjecting. Questions posed too soon may interrupt thought. Those delivered too late may lose relevance. Developing an intuitive sense of timing requires conscious observation and repeated practice. Daily exercises include engaging in conversations and deliberately waiting moments of silence before speaking to maximize impact. Active listening amplifies the effect of questions. Asking a question is only the first step. Attentively listening to the response is what builds trust. Fully absorb what is being said, noting not only the words but the underlying emotions, intentions, and assumptions. Nodding subtly, maintaining eye contact, and allowing pauses demonstrate attentiveness and respect. Daily attention to refining listening skills enhances the quality of follow-up questions, ensuring they are thoughtful, relevant, and grounded in understanding rather than assumption. Empathy strengthens meaningful inquiry. A question carries weight when it reflects awareness of the other person's experience and perspective. Consider the individual's circumstances, challenges, and values when formulating inquiries. Questions that reflect empathy invite honesty and openness, creating an environment where people feel safe to share deeply. Practicing empathetic framing involves reflecting on others' positions before speaking and mentally imagining their perspective to guide inquiry. Clarity enhances connection. Questions must be concise and unambiguous to encourage engagement. Long-winded or convoluted questions confuse or overwhelm, reducing the likelihood of meaningful responses. Structure questions to be direct yet inviting, balancing specificity with openness. Practicing concise phrasing daily allows you to communicate curiosity effectively without imposing complexity on the listener. Follow-up questions deepen engagement. The initial question opens the door, but thoughtful follow-ups sustain dialogue and reveal nuance. Listen carefully to key phrases, emotions, and patterns, then build on them naturally. For example, if someone describes a challenge at work, a follow-up might explore feelings, decisions, or consequences. How did that situation influence your approach to problem solving? Repeated daily practice in identifying hooks for follow-up reinforces the skill of sustained engagement. Balance is essential. Avoid rapid-fire questioning, which can feel interrogative, or superficial inquiry, which feels perfunctory. Space questions appropriately and allow the conversation to breathe. Recognize cues of comfort, interest, and energy to maintain equilibrium. Daily exercises include monitoring conversational pacing, noting reactions, and adjusting question frequency to maintain natural dialogue flow. Curiosity extends beyond the obvious. Avoid only asking questions that confirm existing assumptions or serve self-interest. Probe deeper, exploring motivations, values, and long-term perspectives. Questions that challenge the mind and invite reflection demonstrate genuine investment in understanding. Practicing deeper inquiry daily strengthens intuition for recognizing topics that matter and phrasing questions that evoke thoughtful responses. Nonverbal cues complement verbal inquiry. Body language, tone, and facial expressions can reinforce or undermine the intent behind a question. Ensure that gestures, posture, and gaze convey attentiveness and respect. Subtle mirroring of the other person's energy, without mimicry, signals connection and openness. Daily attention to nonverbal alignment ensures that questions are perceived as genuine and welcoming rather than intrusive or performative. Curated questioning enhances learning. Every conversation is an opportunity to discover knowledge, insight, or perspective. Frame questions that draw out lessons, experiences, and expertise. Questions that are both instructive and relational create dual benefit. They provide information while simultaneously strengthening bonds. Daily practice can involve preparing thoughtful questions for discussions, then observing how responses enrich understanding and connection. Confidence influences receptivity. Questions delivered with hesitation or uncertainty may be perceived as weak or insincere. Cultivate a poised and steady delivery, supported by preparation and mental clarity. Speaking with conviction, even when seeking information, demonstrates respect for the other person's perspective and reinforces authority. Daily exercises include rehearsing question delivery in front of a mirror or recording, refining tone, cadence, and clarity. Reciprocity strengthens the bond. Meaningful connections are not one-sided. Allow others the opportunity to ask questions in return, fostering mutual curiosity and exchange. Practice listening and responding openly when questioned, modeling vulnerability and respect. This reciprocal dynamic reinforces trust and ensures that engagement is collaborative rather than transactional. Reflection amplifies growth. After conversations, review the questions asked, the responses received, and the outcomes achieved. Identify which inquiries prompted the most insight, engagement, or connection, and which fell flat. Document observations and refine future strategies. Daily reflection consolidates learning, enabling increasingly nuanced and effective questioning over time. Contextual awareness increases relevance. Tailor questions to the environment, subject matter, and emotional tone. A question that resonates in a professional meeting may differ from one in a personal setting. Understanding context ensures that inquiry is appropriate, thoughtful, and impactful. Practice daily by consciously adjusting tone, phrasing, and content to match each interaction's circumstances. Emotion enhances engagement. Questions that acknowledge feelings or invite reflection on experiences create deeper resonance than purely factual queries. Incorporate emotional intelligence into inquiry by recognizing and addressing underlying emotions. Daily practice involves observing emotional cues and framing questions that connect thought and feeling, deepening relational impact. Authenticity in questioning cultivates trust. Avoid formulas or artificial curiosity. Instead, let questions arise from genuine interest and presence. Listen intently, respond naturally, and allow curiosity to guide phrasing. Authentic questioning creates an atmosphere where individuals feel valued, understood, and motivated to share meaningfully. Daily attention to authenticity ensures that connections are rooted in sincerity rather than technique. Questions, when employed consistently and thoughtfully, evolve into a tool for meaningful connection. Daily practice, reflection, empathy, timing, clarity, follow-up, nonverbal alignment, confidence, reciprocity, contextual awareness, and authenticity Cultivate a pattern of communication that strengthens relationships. Every conversation becomes an opportunity to deepen understanding, foster trust, and create engagement that resonates beyond the moment. By embedding these practices into daily interactions, asking questions becomes more than a mechanism for information. It transforms into an art that builds influence, nurtures collaboration, and creates enduring relationships. Individuals learn to connect, not only intellectually but emotionally, establishing bonds that are both authentic and impactful. Consistent attention to inquiry, reflection, and refinement ensures that questions bridge gaps, spark dialogue, and cultivate trust. Mastering the skill of asking meaningful questions is a lifelong endeavor. Each interaction provides insight into how phrasing, timing, tone, and content influence engagement. Daily dedication to conscious inquiry strengthens relational intelligence, enhances communication, and builds authority grounded in understanding, rather than dominance. Questions create connection when they are intentional, empathetic, and authentic, transforming ordinary exchanges into powerful opportunities for influence and resonance. The deliberate practice of asking thoughtful questions cultivates relationships that thrive on depth and mutual respect. Over time, the habit becomes second nature, ensuring that every interaction is enriched by curiosity, attentiveness, and meaningful engagement. By consistently refining inquiry and applying it with presence, connection, and sincerity, communication evolves from transactional exchanges into relational art, building bridges that foster trust, collaboration, and lasting influence. Number 8. Structure thoughts, deliver messages impactfully. Clear, structured thinking is the foundation of powerful communication. Thoughts that are scattered, incomplete, or poorly organized rarely resonate, no matter how compelling the content. Impactful messages require a deliberate framework where ideas flow logically, supporting a central point and guiding the audience through understanding. Structuring thoughts is not only a mental exercise, it is a performance of clarity, precision, and persuasive force. When every idea has a place, and every sentence advances the message, communication transforms from noise into influence. The first step is mental clarity. Before speaking or writing, capture the core idea you want to convey. What is the primary message you wish the audience to retain? Distill it into a concise statement or single sentence. This becomes the anchor around which all supporting points revolve. Without this anchor, communication meanders, leaving listeners confused and disengaged. Daily practice involves taking complex concepts and summarizing them in one clear sentence, honing precision of thought. Segmentation enhances comprehension. Break the message into discrete, digestible components. Each segment should convey one idea and flow naturally into the next. Consider beginning with context, followed by explanation, evidence, and a conclusion or actionable takeaway. This layered approach mirrors cognitive processing, allowing listeners or readers to follow reasoning effortlessly. Practicing segmentation daily strengthens mental organization and ensures clarity under pressure. Prioritization determines impact. Not every thought holds equal weight. Identify which points are essential and which are supplementary. Lead with the most compelling or relevant information to capture attention immediately. Supporting points should reinforce the main idea rather than distract or dilute it. Daily exercises include outlining ideas, ranking them by importance, and practicing delivery to ensure key messages stand out. Transitions create flow. Abrupt shifts confuse the audience and weaken comprehension. Use connectors that link thoughts logically. Therefore, as a result, in contrast, or building on that idea. Smooth transitions guide listeners along the intended path, maintaining engagement and reinforcing logical structure. Practice linking sentences or paragraphs intentionally, observing how subtle connectors enhance coherence and impact. Evidence and examples reinforce messages. Abstract ideas gain credibility and memorability when anchored in concrete illustration. Provide relevant data, anecdotes, or case studies that clarify and support your points. Examples should be specific, relatable, and aligned with the central message. Regular practice involves converting conceptual ideas into real-world illustrations, ensuring every claim is actionable and understandable. Simplicity maximizes clarity. Complex language, or convoluted phrasing creates cognitive friction. Select words that are precise, familiar, and expressive. Avoid overloading sentences with multiple subordinate clauses or excessive jargon. Clarity strengthens authority and comprehension, ensuring that messages resonate across diverse audiences. Daily refinement involves reviewing written or spoken content, pruning unnecessary complexity, and emphasizing direct, impactful phrasing. Anticipate audience perspective. Consider the knowledge, expectations, and interests of those receiving the message. Structure communication to address potential questions, objections, or areas of confusion proactively. Predictive structuring demonstrates awareness, empathy, and professionalism, increasing receptivity and retention. Daily practice includes mentally simulating an audience response and adjusting structure accordingly to maximize clarity and persuasion. Sequential logic enhances memorability. Present ideas in a progression that mirrors natural reasoning, cause and effect, problem and solution, or chronological order. Each point should build upon the previous, leading to a cohesive conclusion. Sequencing thoughts intentionally ensures that the audience can trace reasoning step by step, reinforcing understanding and recall. Exercises in daily practice include outlining arguments in various sequences and evaluating which delivers the clearest message. The power of repetition and emphasis cannot be overlooked. Key points should be highlighted or reiterated to ensure retention. Strategic repetition reinforces memory while emphasizing significance. Emphasize important ideas verbally through pauses, tonal modulation, or phrasing, and visually in written communication through formatting or bolding. Practicing deliberate emphasis cultivates the instinct to prioritize and accentuate critical content. Visualization aids mental organization. Represent ideas spatially through diagrams, charts, or conceptual maps. Visual frameworks help structure thought by clarifying relationships, hierarchies, and flow. Even mental visualization of a concept's framework primes the brain for coherent delivery. Daily exercises might include sketching mental maps of topics before discussions or rehearsals, ensuring a structured foundation is internalized before articulation. Conciseness strengthens impact. Every sentence should contribute meaningfully. Redundant or tangential thoughts dilute the central message. Practice trimming content without sacrificing substance, focusing on essentials. Concise articulation reflects mental discipline, authority, and respect for the audience's time. Daily exercises include rewriting paragraphs or summaries in fewer words while retaining clarity, training the mind to prioritize substance over volume. Active structuring in spoken communication demands rehearsal. Think of each sentence as a building block. Pause when necessary to ensure the next block aligns seamlessly. Rehearsal strengthens recall, confidence, and delivery rhythm, minimizing disorganization under pressure. Practice involves speaking key points aloud sequentially, refining pacing, transitions, and emphasis until delivery mirrors internal structure effortlessly. Anchor messages with framing statements. Introduce the topic with context and orient the audience to the purpose and trajectory of the discussion. Frame the conclusion to summarize core points and reinforce actionable takeaways. Clear framing reduces confusion, enhances focus, and strengthens the perceived authority of the speaker or writer. Daily practice involves crafting opening and closing statements that succinctly outline and reinforce central message. Flexibility and structuring allows adaptation. While planning is essential, skilled communicators adjust structure dynamically based on audience feedback, engagement, or context. Be prepared to reorder points, expand explanations, or summarize when necessary. Daily exercises include rehearsing variations and responses to hypothetical interruptions or questions, building adaptability without sacrificing coherence. Tone and pacing complement structured thought. Well-organized content delivered monotonously loses effect. Modulate rhythm, volume, and emphasis to reinforce logical flow. Pauses strategically placed between segments allow absorption and highlight significance. Practicing tonal modulation daily ensures that structure is not only logical, but compelling, engaging both intellect and attention. Storytelling integrates structured thoughts into memorable narratives. Present complex ideas through sequential stories, using character, conflict, and resolution to anchor messages. Narrative structure provides natural flow, emotional resonance, and clarity. Practice translating abstract concepts into concise, structured stories that illustrate key points and foster retention. Each story becomes a vessel for impactful communication that aligns mental architecture with audience perception. Reflection consolidates skill. After each presentation or discussion, review the structure of delivery. What was coherent? Where did transitions falter? And which points resonated most? Identify patterns for improvement and document lessons. Reflection reinforces mental organization, ensuring that successive communications grow increasingly impactful. Daily reflection integrates learning into habitual cognitive structure. Link structure to purpose. Every element of communication should serve the central goal: informing, persuading, motivating, or connecting. Evaluate content through the lens of relevance and alignment. Remove elements that distract, weaken, or divert from the objective. Practicing this evaluation daily ensures that messages remain focused, impactful, and strategically aligned. Integration of visual, auditory, and cognitive cues strengthens message retention. Support verbal or written points with gestures, emphasis, or visual aids that mirror structured logic. Align each modality with the sequence of thought to enhance comprehension and engagement. Daily application of multimodal reinforcement trains consistent alignment between structure and delivery. Structuring thoughts and delivering messages impactfully is a discipline requiring conscious practice, attention to detail, and iterative refinement. By mastering clarity, segmentation, prioritization, transitions, evidence, pacing, audience awareness, sequencing, repetition, visualization, conciseness, rehearsal, framing, flexibility, tone, storytelling, reflection, and alignment with purpose, communication evolves into a force that commands attention, inspires confidence, and ensures understanding. The habitual practice of structuring ideas transforms communication from disjointed expression into deliberate influence. Thought becomes transparent, language becomes precise, and messages resonate. Over time, this disciplined approach ensures that every interaction is impactful, every idea is memorable, and every message achieves its intended effect. Clear thought, carefully structured and effectively delivered, becomes a cornerstone of authority, persuasion, and lasting influence. Number 9. Adapt style to every listener. Effective communication is not a one-size-fits-all skill. Every individual you encounter processes information differently, interprets tone uniquely, and responds according to personal experiences, values, and expectations. Adapting your style to each listener is not manipulation. It is respect, attentiveness, and strategic awareness. It ensures that ideas resonate, messages are understood, and influence is maximized. The ability to read the room, adjust delivery, and align with the audience's preferences separates average communicators from those who inspire trust, foster collaboration, and leave lasting impact. Understanding the listener begins with observation. Every person conveys subtle cues about their preferences and inclinations through posture, facial expressions, tone, and engagement patterns. Attentive observation reveals whether someone responds better to concise facts, detailed explanations, emotional narratives, or illustrative examples. Daily practice in noticing these cues strengthens perceptiveness and allows for proactive adaptation, ensuring that the delivery of messages is relevant and compelling. Language choice shapes perception. Words that resonate with one audience may confuse or disengage another. Some listeners prefer technical terminology, while others respond to simplified, relatable phrasing. Adjust vocabulary, tone, and sentence structure according to the listener's background, education, and familiarity with the subject. Doing so demonstrates empathy, intelligence, and intentionality. Practice involves revising the same message for different hypothetical audiences, noting which expressions elicit clarity, connection, and engagement. Tone and energy must align with audience expectations. Certain individuals respond to enthusiasm, passion, or high energy, while others prefer calm, measured, and deliberate communication. Mirroring the listener's energy without losing authenticity increases receptivity. Daily exercises include observing interactions in different settings and experimenting with energy modulation to maintain natural alignment without overcompensation. Pacing influences comprehension. Some people process information rapidly, preferring fast, high-level summaries, whereas others need slower, more detailed explanations to absorb content fully. Adjust the speed of delivery, pausing for emphasis or reflection as necessary. Practicing pacing variations ensures that your communication is adaptable, maintaining clarity and engagement for diverse audiences. Structure and presentation must be flexible. For analytical listeners, logical sequencing, data, and cause-effect reasoning are most persuasive. For creative or intuitive listeners, metaphors, storytelling, and conceptual connections resonate more deeply. Identifying the cognitive style of your audience allows the speaker to present content in a format that naturally aligns with the listener's way of understanding. Daily practice includes reframing the same information in multiple structural approaches to strengthen adaptability. Nonverbal communication is equally critical. Body language, facial expressions, gestures, and spatial dynamics must complement verbal content. For some listeners, direct eye contact conveys confidence and sincerity. For others, prolonged eye contact may feel confrontational. Adjust posture, proximity, and gestures to match audience comfort levels. Ensuring presence reinforces rather than distracts. Daily observation and rehearsal enhance the ability to synchronize nonverbal signals with audience expectations. Cultural sensitivity is a vital component. Different backgrounds carry unique communication norms, expectations, and values. Adapting style requires awareness of these cultural nuances, including humor, idioms, gestures, and formalities. Misalignment can obscure messages or create unintended friction. Educating yourself continuously about diverse cultural cues and practicing respectful adaptation in daily interactions strengthens the ability to connect authentically across differences. Listening actively guides adaptation. A speaker cannot adjust effectively without truly understanding responses. Monitor verbal and nonverbal feedback closely. Are questions concise or exploratory? Are reactions enthusiastic, neutral, or skeptical? Adjust content, tone, and approach in real time. Daily exercises include practicing reflective listening, paraphrasing understanding, and noting listener reactions to calibrate subsequent communication effectively. Flexibility in questioning and engagement enhances connection. Certain audiences appreciate direct challenges and debate, while others prefer gentle guidance and collaborative exploration. Tailor questioning style to the listener, adapting phrasing, intensity, and sequencing. This responsiveness signals attentiveness and respect for differing interaction styles. Daily practice involves role-playing conversations with varied engagement preferences to internalize flexibility. Storytelling must adapt to listener values. Emotional resonance, humor, or illustrative examples that captivate one person may fall flat with another. Gauge interests, prior experiences, and preferences, then select narratives that enhance comprehension and connection. Practicing storytelling with multiple versions for the same point strengthens versatility and increases impact across audiences. Feedback loops reinforce adaptation, soliciting subtle cues, confirming understanding, or inviting questions ensures alignment. Feedback can be explicit or inferred from engagement, tone, or attention. Integrating this information into ongoing delivery maximizes resonance. Daily reflection on feedback allows continuous refinement, ensuring that messages consistently land as intended. Confidence enables flexibility. Adapting style does not mean compromising authority. Rather, it demonstrates mastery, empathy, and situational intelligence. A confident communicator can adjust without hesitation or overcorrection, maintaining authenticity while optimizing reception. Daily practice involves rehearsing adaptive strategies until responsiveness becomes instinctive rather than forced. Empathy underpins style adaptation. Truly understanding the listener's perspective, needs, motivations, concerns, guides tone, phrasing, pacing, and structure. Empathetic communication fosters trust, respect, and willingness to engage, elevating the effectiveness of every message. Exercises in empathy include perspective taking, reflective journaling, and deliberate observation of diverse reactions during conversations. Analogies and metaphors must match comprehension levels. Complex technical explanations may be clarified through simple analogies for some, whereas others prefer exact terminology and data. Tailoring illustrative language increases accessibility, retention, and engagement. Daily practice includes reformulating ideas into multiple analogical frameworks suited to different cognitive styles. Emotion and energy alignment strengthens connection. Some audiences respond to passion, intensity, or enthusiasm, while others prioritize calm reasoning and deliberate reflection. Adapting emotional delivery ensures resonance and avoids alienation. Daily attention to audience mood, facial cues, and energy patterns enhances the capacity to modulate delivery appropriately. Preparation enhances adaptability. Anticipate potential audience types, questions, and responses. Have multiple strategies ready to present ideas and formats, tones, and examples that align with diverse preferences. Mental rehearsal ensures fluidity and reduces hesitation, allowing for smooth, natural adaptation during live interactions. Clarity is non-negotiable. While style adapts, the core message must remain intact. Adjusting tone, energy, or examples should enhance understanding without diluting meaning. Practicing adaptation while maintaining clarity ensures that every audience receives the intended message without compromise. Consistency and authenticity maintains trust. While style adjusts, sincerity must remain constant. Audiences perceive dissonance between words, tone, and intent. Authenticity anchors communication, even when surface elements shift. Daily reflection on authenticity ensures that adaptive strategies reinforce rather than undermine credibility and influence. Observation of group dynamics refines adaptation. In multi-person settings, attention to dominant voices, engagement levels, and collective energy guides delivery. Adjust addressing techniques, phrasing, and pacing to ensure inclusivity and clarity. Practice includes actively analyzing group responses and modifying approaches in real time to maintain effectiveness. Adaptation is iterative. Each conversation provides insight into preferences, comprehension, and responsiveness. Integrating observations, refining phrasing, and adjusting strategies develops intuition for optimal delivery. Daily practice strengthens instinctive adaptation, allowing seamless adjustment to varying listener needs without conscious effort. Listening, observation, empathy, clarity, tone, pacing, structure, storytelling, feedback integration, cultural awareness, confidence, and authenticity collectively enable the speaker to align style with the listener's needs. Mastery of adaptation ensures that communication is not only understood but valued, remembered, and acted upon. The ability to adjust style to every listener transforms communication from mere information exchange into influence, trust building, and relational depth. Over time, the practice of observing, reflecting, and responding to individual cues strengthens credibility, engagement, and lasting impact. Consistent application of adaptive strategies ensures that every interaction resonates, ideas are received as intended, and connections flourish in both professional and personal contexts. Adaptation is not a superficial skill, but a disciplined practice, requiring attention, empathy, and situational intelligence. When cultivated daily, it guarantees that every message is delivered with precision, clarity, and resonance. Communication evolves from static speech into a dynamic exchange tailored to each individual, fostering understanding, respect, and influence that endures beyond the immediate interaction. Number 10. End conversations with clear intent. Conversations are the lifeblood of connection, yet their impact is determined not only by what is said, but by how they are concluded. Ending a conversation with clear intent transforms casual dialogue into purposeful exchange, ensuring understanding, alignment, and forward momentum. Without deliberate closure, ideas drift, commitments fade, and communication loses effectiveness. Clarity at the conclusion signals respect for the other person's time, reinforces your authority, and leaves a lasting impression that carries beyond the immediate interaction. The first step in ending any conversation purposefully is awareness of the objective. Consider why the discussion took place and what outcome you desire. Are you seeking agreement, clarification, action, or simply mutual understanding? Defining the intended conclusion frames the way you summarize, emphasize, and direct next steps. Daily practice includes reviewing conversations, identifying their purpose, and mentally preparing for a precise, intentional close before speaking. Summarization reinforces comprehension. Effective closure requires restating key points clearly and concisely. Highlight agreements, decisions, or actionable items while clarifying any areas that remain unresolved. Summarization ensures both parties leave with a shared understanding, eliminating ambiguity that can undermine effectiveness. Practice summarizing discussions in daily life, whether in meetings, casual exchanges, or written correspondence, to internalize the habit of precise closure. Action-oriented conclusions solidify impact. Every conversation that involves decision-making or collaboration benefits from a defined path forward. Clearly articulate next steps, responsibilities, timelines, or commitment. Phrases such as "the next step is," or "we will follow up by," provide tangible direction and accountability. Daily application includes identifying at least one actionable outcome in every interaction, training the mind to default to purposeful conclusion. Confirm understanding to prevent misalignment. Before closing, verify that the other party shares your interpretation of decisions or insights. Simple questions, such as, "Does that align with your understanding?" or "Are we in agreement on this point?" invite confirmation, minimize miscommunication, and reinforce mutual clarity. Practicing this verification habit strengthens relational trust and ensures that conversations achieve their intended purpose. Closing with intention requires emotional awareness. The tone of the conclusion leaves a lasting imprint. Avoid abrupt endings, dismissiveness, or vague statements, which can create confusion or disengagement. Instead, end with composure, respect, and confidence. Modulate tone, pace, and demeanor to reinforce finality while maintaining warmth and approachability. Daily reflection on conversational endings helps fine-tune emotional alignment, ensuring messages land as intended. Strategic emphasis reinforces priority. Highlight critical takeaways or decisions to ensure they are remembered. Use verbal cues, pauses, or phrasing that signals importance, such as, "The most important point to remember is," or "the key action moving forward is." Emphasis guides attention and ensures that central messages are retained. Daily exercises include consciously marking key points in conversation for emphasis and closure. Timing enhances effectiveness. Ending a conversation too abruptly or too late can undermine the intended impact. Observe cues, such as engagement level, energy, and context to choose the optimal moment for closure. Practicing situational awareness during dialogue allows for natural, confident conclusions that maximize understanding and receptivity. Over time, intuitive timing ensures conversations conclude with clarity rather than disruption. A confident close demonstrates authority. Clearly signaling the end of a discussion reflects self-assurance and decisiveness. Phrases like, "That covers everything we needed to discuss," or "With that we can move forward," communicate control and clarity. Confidence in closure strengthens credibility, reassures the listener, and reinforces trust in your communication. Daily practice includes rehearsing confident conclusions in varied scenarios to internalize poise and precision. Tailor the ending to the audience. Consider the other person's communication style, priorities, and expectations when concluding. Some listeners prefer succinct, fact-driven summaries, while others respond to relational, empathetic closure. Adjust phrasing, tone, and emphasis to match audience needs, ensuring the conclusion resonates and is fully understood. Daily practice involves observing reactions to different closing styles and refining adaptability accordingly. Reflective closure enhances learning. Invite brief reflection or feedback when appropriate, such as, "Do you have any final thoughts?" or "Is there anything you feel we should address before wrapping up?" This demonstrates respect, encourages dialogue, and allows additional insights to surface. Daily exercises in prompting reflection cultivate responsiveness and deepen relational connection. Written reinforcement strengthens verbal closure. When conversations involve critical decisions, summarizing and writing ensures clarity and accountability. Follow-up emails or messages outlining key points, next steps, and timelines consolidate understanding and create a permanent reference. Practice including written reinforcement after significant discussions, transforming verbal intent into tangible documentation. Consistency and closure builds trust. Repeatedly ending conversations with clear intent establishes a reputation for reliability and clarity. People learn to expect purposeful conclusions, which enhances engagement, respect, and collaboration over time. Daily attention to consistently concluding every interaction intentionally embeds trust and reinforces authority. Integration of intention into small interactions matters. Even brief conversations benefit from purposeful closure. Summarize the exchange, clarify commitments, or provide a final remark that signals completion. Habitual application ensures that every dialogue, regardless of scale, concludes with precision, impact, and professionalism. Adapt closures for conflict or sensitive topics. In challenging discussions, clear intent is essential to prevent misunderstandings, diffuse tension, and ensure mutual comprehension. Use measured language, restate agreements, and confirm next steps explicitly. Practicing closure in difficult conversations strengthens emotional regulation, empathy, and influence, reinforcing competence under pressure. Clarity prevents assumption. Without intentional closure, listeners may misinterpret intentions, assume decisions, or carry incomplete understanding forward. Concluding with specificity mitigates risk, reduces confusion, and fosters alignment. Practice includes identifying potential ambiguities and explicitly addressing them at the end of every discussion. Empathy enhances the final impression. Consider how the other person feels at the conclusion, acknowledging their contribution, perspective, or effort. Expressing gratitude or affirmations such as "I appreciate your insights on this," or "Thank you for your time and input," leaves a positive, lasting impression. Daily practice in empathetic closure strengthens relational bonds and reinforces engagement. Closure reinforces accountability. When responsibilities, timelines, or actions are communicated clearly at the end, follow-through becomes more likely. Clearly stating who is responsible, what is expected, and when it is due creates accountability structures that support efficiency and outcomes. Daily reinforcement of explicit closure habits ensures commitments are consistently acknowledged and tracked. Reiteration solidifies memory. Restating central points or agreements in concise form at the end reinforces retention. Highlighting the takeaway ensures that critical information is not lost amidst details, allowing both parties to depart with a clear understanding. Daily exercises include summarizing discussions aloud or in writing, sharpening precision and recall. Balance authority and approachability. Endings should convey decisiveness while remaining inviting for future engagement. Avoid abruptness or rigidity that can discourage dialogue. Instead, combine clarity with openness, signaling that while the current conversation concludes, the relationship and communication channel remain accessible. Daily attention to tone, phrasing, and body language ensures endings are authoritative yet relational. Reflection on closure improves future interactions. After each conversation, analyze how effectively the discussion ended. Was understanding achieved? Were actions clarified? Did the listener feel engaged and respected? Identify improvements and adjust strategies accordingly. Continuous reflection strengthens skill and makes purposeful closure instinctive. Ending conversations with clear intent elevates communication from casual exchange to strategic interaction. By defining objectives, summarizing key points, confirming understanding, specifying actions, and aligning tone, every dialogue becomes precise, memorable, and impactful. The practice requires awareness, preparation, empathy, and consistency, ensuring that messages are received, retained, and actionable. Daily application of these principles transforms closure into a deliberate skill that enhances influence, credibility, and relational depth. Through disciplined attention to clarity, timing, audience awareness, reflection, Empathy, accountability, and confident articulation. Purposeful closure ensures that conversations achieve their intended outcomes. Each interaction becomes an opportunity to reinforce authority, strengthen relationships, and leave a lasting impression. Mastering this practice transforms communication into an instrument of influence and ensures that every exchange concludes with intent, precision, and enduring impact.